my beautiful motorheads, it's Annick. I wanted to share something that recently happened to me that I think you guys might find amusing, funny, not funny. And I also wanted to comment on the recent Doodle video about her quote-unquote death wobble. And I also wanted to give a few updates that have been going on with FÉROCE. I want to share with you guys a funny, not funny experience that I had at a recent motorcycle event. I went to go do an Aprilia demo day at a dealership in upstate New York. It was great. The demo day was fantastic. It's a pretty new dealership. They had a local club there that was offering barbecue, and you could ride the line of Aprilias and Moto Guzzi. So I was pretty pumped to go do this because it's been a hot minute since I've ridden an Aprilia. I signed up, and when I got there, I realized that I knew the Aprilia people who were there, and they were like, hey, Annick, you can, if you want, you can actually test ride a couple of different motorcycles. You don't just have to do one. They were pretty booked. So I was like, all right, that's really awesome. The first bike that I got on, and this was the bike that I personally signed up for. So I asked Aprilia, can I ride this particular bike? And then whatever the second bike is, you guys give to me if there's something that you think that I should try out. So I get on the bike, and everybody has started their motors up because we're going to go out in a group on this test ride. And this guy comes up to me, he pulls up next to me, and he goes, do you know what they gave you? And mind you, it's really loud, the bike I'm on is super loud. And I was like, did this guy just say what I think he said to me? And I was like, what? And he goes, do you know what they gave you? And it took me a second to realize that he thought, number one, that I didn't know what motorcycle I was on. And two, I quickly realized that he didn't think that I would be able to ride it, right? So, and all this is happening in pretty quick time. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I can't believe this guy just said it to me. Because it's kind of insulting, right? Apparently you are not aware of what you're actually sitting on. And two, I don't have faith that you can actually ride this. Well, I lean over to him, and yell to him, I picked it out! Which is true. I asked Aprilia, I go, I want to ride the biggest, fastest bike you have here. And it happened to be the Tuono V4 Factory 1100. It is their more upright sport bike versus their RSV, which is the full, clip-on racing position. So they had this Tuono V4, and I was absolutely thrilled to be able to ride it. And all this happened, very, very, very quick, right? So I was on the bike, and the first thing about me getting onto this bike was that I had test ridden a scooter to the event. So I'm getting off the scooter and getting onto an 1100 sport bike, which was very much on the tall side. It was so tall, in fact, that not only was I tippy toe, but I was the tippiest of tippy toes. We're talking like ballerina point shoe tippy toe, only on one foot. So when I got on the bike, a friend of mine held the bike, and we were trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way for me to position myself on this bike? Should I put my right foot down or my left foot down? Because based on the height, where the rear set was, and how I would feel comfortable maneuvering the motorcycle. These are things you need to think of when you are a shorter rider like myself. So I don't know if this guy saw me and perceived what was happening is that I was struggling to be on the bike, which he wouldn't be wrong, but I wouldn't say it was a struggle so much as every time I switch from bike to bike to bike, I like to take a second, assess what I'm on, figure it out. I haven't been on an Aprilia in a really long time. And again, I was just coming off of a scooter, okay? Now, the guy who said this to me was not old at all whatsoever. He was I would say mid-20s, I think. It's hard to tell when somebody has a helmet on, and even when I saw him walking around later, I'm not really sure how old he was, but younger rider. And it kind of brings up these, misconceptions or these ideas, not even misconceptions really, but these biases that we have in motorcycling about riders, which is, as a female, I must not know how to ride. I don't know much about motorcycles. What are like some of even the negative comments that I get on the YouTube channel, which is like, you're just a talking head, which is hilarious. So this guy was making this comment based on his own thoughts about who I was or what I possibly could know about a motorcycle. And I get caught off guard by these comments because at this point in my life, and also in the day and age that we're in, it always throws me off that people still think this way, right? And it's the same thing that happens that every time I go to a dealership and they ignore me, I'm always like, like it's so weird that I'm still dealing with this. And not only me, but like the other women within the motorcycling industry. So at the same time, I do have empathy for what this guy said to me because, I don't think that he was a terrible person. I'm not going to like bash him or man hate or anything like that. I realized that he was reacting to the situation based on his own knowledge or experience, okay? Totally fine. And I then said to him, because, I was struggling a little bit, again, with the hike, just trying to figure out, and, the last thing anybody wants to do, and I've mentioned this before, is dump a bike, an expensive bike, in front of a crowd. It is not fun. Thank goodness I've never done it, but I have dumped bikes and crashed, so, I'm not immune to that. So I get that if he had witnessed that I was trying to figure that out, that he may have had concerns. So I said to him, after I said, I picked the bike, buddy. I left the buddy part out. That I said to him, I may wobble a little bit at the stops. If you want to go ahead of me, go ahead, right? I'm keeping my ego in check. I don't need to like prove anything to this guy. Also don't need to explain to him what my situation is and that I'm here to test ride for FÉROCE. And he's like, no, go ahead. No, please, go ahead. And I was like, okay. So I had actually blocked out this whole scenario. And I think that women could probably relate to me when I say this, that over my lifetime, people have said a lot of crazy stuff. A lot of men have said a lot of crazy stuff, whether it is sexually inappropriate, talent inappropriate, or whatever. And you get to a point where you just block it out because there's no reason to try to correct people or fight it. Like I don't think it really gets anywhere. But I'm bringing this up because when we know better, we can do better. And we want to, as a community, encourage women to get into motorcycling and be motorcycling, because the fact of the matter is that less women are getting married and less women are having children, which means that they are going to have more disposable income to purchase motorcycles. And as we all know, this is an amazing sport, and women are only 19 to 21% of the market, which I think could grow exponentially. And I've always been a huge proponent of trying to get more women into riding because I have found so much joy in the sport of it, in the community, and really just the experience of being able to travel on the road or being in the woods doing this. And I think that a lot of women would benefit from having this as part of their lives. So how do we encourage women to get into this sport? And part of it is the language that we use around, or the misconceptions or the ideas that we have around whether or not the biases, I guess, basically. I'm a little bit at a loss for words because I probably should have thought this through a little bit before doing the video, but it doesn't feel good when somebody just is like, kind of commenting on whether or not you can handle a bike or not. And I know that I have personally also looked at other people and thought, man, they shouldn't be on that bike, right? And I've been to a lot of women events where I have seen, just based on size, women struggling on larger motorcycles. I have always encouraged the smaller bikes because it's just easier to ride and it can be like a more fun experience sometimes. But man, I love a big bike and I loved being on that 1100, right? I get it. And I specifically wanted to be on the biggest, fastest bike that they had there because it's been a while since I've been able to just rip a bike like that. And it was fun. That's it. It's fun. I don't really need more of a reason to want to do that. My point with this is that sometimes we can make a comment that will, by accident, not even really thinking about it. It wasn't like this guy was trying to be insulting. He just didn't realize that his own biases were demeaning. Like he honestly didn't realize that. And this is why I bring it up, because we all say stuff that we don't mean to say. And I definitely have done this in the past where I've made dumb comments, and in retrospect, wish I hadn't said that, but like, I didn't know any better at the time. And I'm sure moving forward, I will also do the same. If we know that this is like something that people don't like to hear, then it's like, okay, then we can change our language around it. So especially when it comes to the motorcycling, like there used to be this saying when I was in health and wellness that keep your eyes on your own plate. And it was this, that, you know, when I was doing bodybuilding and like incredibly into fitness and super fit, your diet is a big part of being in that world. And topic of food is always prevalent. So you've, I'm sure, experienced this in your life where people make comments about what you eat. And a lot of times people don't realize that there are many people with eating disorders, and if you say the wrong thing, it can really trigger a negative effect on a person, especially people who are in health and wellness, because it's all about body image, like feeling, you know, being in really good shape, looking really good and cut, and if somebody makes like an arbitrary experience, it could really spiral a person. And the person making the comment probably doesn't even realize that what they've said can be very damaging. So it's the same thing with motorcycling. It's like, you know, if we make these stupid comments, we don't realize that it could really hurt a rider, in that it may cause them to lack confidence. If they then lack confidence, that means that they're probably not going to ride as well or take the risk that they actually could handle, but then they start to second guess their abilities. One of the ways that I see this come out the most was even on that same day, we were sitting around and got into a conversation with a young woman. She was probably between 18 and 21. And she was there, it was me, her, and two guys. And she goes, oh, we asked her, like, oh, do you ride? And she goes, no. She's like, technically I don't. She's like, I'm taking the class and I'm saving up money to buy this motorcycle. And she was so excited that she pulled out her phone and she showed us a picture, and it was a Honda CBR 300. So excited, right? Like pure joy. So excited to get into this and to buy this motorcycle. I'm very proud of the fact that she was being disciplined enough to save up the money to buy it. The two guys go, oh, well, you know, you're going to outgrow that quick. And I got so mad. I was like, just shut up. Like, I don't know how else to say it more bluntly than this woman is so excited about getting into motorcycling, and she's doing the right thing by getting in on a small bike. And who cares whether or not she outgrows it in a year? Who cares if she decides that that's her forever bike? But she's already been like getting shamed before she's even gotten onto a motorcycle that, you're going to outgrow it. So like, you know, maybe you should think about something else. It is always more fun to ride a slow bike fast than a fast bike slow. I witnessed this so many times in my life that people get on a bike that is too big for them, they get scared, and then their abilities to become a better rider go back 4 or 5 steps because they've lost the confidence to make the next move. When you ride a slow bike and you master that slow bike, you gain so much knowledge about riding in every single aspect. And then whether or not you decide to go up to the next level is up to you. So I bring this up again because sometimes the things that we say are just damaging and we don't realize it because it's based on our own experience or knowledge, right? So this guy, again, he didn't know that he was talking to somebody who actually does have experience and could handle the motorcycle. And that's fine. I wasn't there to prove to him that I could ride. Have no interest in doing that for anyone. I ride for myself. And 2, that if he knew better, he probably wouldn't have done so. So let's just let people, like the food thing, let's just let people make their own decisions when it comes to motorcycles. Unless, of course, they ask for your opinion. What do you think about this motorcycle I'm riding? In that case, by all means, tell them what you think. But otherwise, you know what? Just let somebody ride their ride. Like, let's just all ride our ride, mind our own business, and do our own thing, and not be worried about the people around us unless, of course, you are in a group environment where if somebody is putting everybody else in danger, of course, say something. Otherwise, if somebody's on a bike that's not really right for them for whatever reason, let them figure it out. Not your business. So that is I don't want to say that it's a rant. I just think that this is like ongoing conversations about like how can we make the riding community better, and sometimes it's our own thing. Like I will try to mind my beeswax about somebody drinking too much soda, and we will just let people ride the ride that they want to ride. This leads me into my second topic, which is Doodle on a motorcycle. Some of you may know her. She's a popular YouTuber. And I had mentioned a few months back that I had gone to Janus Motorcycles, and the day that I was there was a YouTuber there, and it happened to be Doodle on a motorcycle. In that episode, which I will reference, I said I didn't want to tell you why she was there because I knew she would be putting out an episode. So she was there to build a motorcycle with Janus, and then her intent was to leave the following day. And I learned all this because we had dinner together. Leave the following day and follow Route 66 all the way to California on this Janus motorcycle. And then she was going to fly home from there. When I watched her video, I found out that the following day when she left, I had already left the night before, that she was riding with one of the founders of Janus, and she went into what I call a tank slapper. I think for all the YouTube algorithms, everybody wants to call it the death wobble, which to me, it's a death wobble if you're going 120, but at 55, it's probably going to be more like this is really going to hurt. So therefore, a tank slapper. And I'm not going to comment on what my thoughts are on why it happened or anything like that. It ends up like afterwards, you watch one video, and then my feed was like full of videos of other YouTubers analyzing what actually happened, because she shows the video of it. So if you're curious about that, you can go check her out, and once you watch one of her videos, your feed's going to be full of people commenting on what they think happened. I don't have a comment on why it happened. I wanted to bring this up because I feel like I have a little bit of a personal connection with the story, in that I met Janus and kind of saw the behind the scenes of her making the video and getting ready to go on this trip, and listening to her talk about the trip and how excited she was to do it. I can relate to something that she said in her video, which was that she was debating whether or not to share that she had actually gotten into an accident and that she had gotten hurt. She hurt her knee. She brings that up because kind of related to the earlier thing that I was saying about being like a woman in motorcycling. I don't know her well enough to really understand what her riding capabilities are, or none of us were there, even though there was video. We were not there to actually know what happened. But her point in saying like whether or not she should share it brings up, again, it's this perception that immediately all this negativity kind of goes to an experience like that. Like, she doesn't know how to ride, it was her fault that it happened, or whatever. And it immediately kind of goes to, this female's not a good rider. And again, I can't comment on whether she is or isn't because I don't know. Just don't know. And I'm not also going to prophesize on like what actually happened at the experience, but I do know that it sucks when you are expecting to go on a great adventure. And as any motorcyclist knows, when that adventure doesn't happen because of an accident, it's a real bummer. And it's a super bummer that, as we all know, you can get hurt doing this sport that we love. Ultimately, I think it is good that she showed, or not that necessarily maybe that she showed that it happened, but that she talked about it happening. And not so much in relation to like what bike she was on or anything like that, but more bringing like to accidents happen, and they can happen in the parking lot. You can be pushing your motorcycle out, drop the bike, and crack your ankle. Anything can happen. You don't even have to be riding for a dumb accident to occur. So I do give her kudos for talking about it, because it's not an easy topic to talk about, and it's not fun. And although we like to like see crash scenarios and like all the kind of sensational stuff on motorcycles, the actuality of it and like the outcome of it is just never really fun or exciting, or the rehabilitation, the money it costs, to heal, to fix the bike, to cancel flights, plans, all of it. So I wish her a speedy recovery. And, I think it's okay for us to talk about accidents, and we can do it in a way that doesn't sensationalize it. I want to just talk a little bit about what's going on with FÉROCE. This week, I am going to be at Dirt Days in North Haverhill, New Hampshire. And that will be August 14th through the 17th. I'm going to be giving a presentation Thursday night. I'm not sure where, but I think it's at the main event tent. But I have not been to the North Haverhill, New Hampshire location, so I don't really know what the layout's going to be. But I'm going to be giving a presentation on podcasting and vlogging, and I'm looking forward to the event. It'll be fun to see friends. If you see me there, please say hello. I love talking to everybody, and I love when people introduce themselves and let me know that they're a fan of FÉROCE. At this point, I'm not sure what events I'm going to be doing in September and October. I have a few things that are up in the air. It's going to also depend on my personal life schedule and seeing kind of what arises. I have some future test riding that I'm going to be doing on some motorcycles that's going to be great. Oh, and Honda's giving me a motorcycle to ride up to Dirt Days, so that should be super fun, and I will reveal that in the Dirt Days video. I also am open to suggestions to other events that I should look into in September and October. So if you guys know of anything that I should think about going to or attending, let me know. And if you would like to support the show, there's a few ways that you can do it. One of which is you can just like and subscribe. That's the absolute free way that I love, we love, and support. The second way is buy me a coffee, but as I like to call it, buy me an oil change. And there will be a link in the comments to be able to donate to that. You can also support the show by buying apparel on liveféroce.com. There's links underneath this video. And if you sign up for the email list, you get 10% off, so your first purchase. So how cool is that? We have some really good episodes coming up on motorcycles. We have some interviews. And I will, of course, continue to do these solo shows where I talk about all things related to motorcycles. Ride smart. Ciao.